Hello there, you're welcome here again to my YouTube channel. It is Chigozie, and if you're new here, you're welcome. This is Prep with Chigozie, a YouTube channel specifically designed to help students smash the verbal section of the digital SAT. So this is your first time on this channel, you may need to refer to the previous video where I got to give you an overview of what I consider my 5 top fire strategies to dealing with the entire section of the verbal test. But today, in very particular sense, we'll be focusing on one topic. One very important topic that tends to have very high marks attached to it on digital SAT, and that I find from experience that some students struggle with. What am I talking about? I'm talking about the main idea question type under the reading portion of the digital SAT. In that previous video as well, I got to explain the two broad segments of the digital verbal SAT, right? So you find that the reading comprehension segment is just one of them, and the main idea question type is one among the reading based questions, right? So if you find that you have issues around understanding the passage, probably because you find the passage a little too long, or the options tend to be close but not quite, you just don't seem to find your way around picking the best answer on the main idea question type, this video is here to help you today. So on this video, you're going to be learning two basic things. You're going to be learning how best to read your text on the main idea question, and then how best to evaluate your options, as well as the kind of wrong options you should look out for towards eliminating on the main idea question type. So you want to stick around here with me for the loads of such useful content. So without so much preamble, let's delve right into the content of today's video. So yes, dealing with the main idea question type, and I promise to take you through two sections in this video today. You'll be learning how to read the text, as of course you must have learned from my previous video that not all questions should be approached the exact same way, right? So going to be learning the 5 steps to dealing with reading the main idea text, to reading the text that has to do with the main idea question. I'm sure by now you're thinking, oh, this man likes number 5. It's pretty obvious, isn't it? But trust me, it is just a coincidence. So yes, we have 5 steps in my lesson today, and those 5 steps to reading the text are: first of all, you have the blob. You should read the blob. Secondly, you need to understand the introduction. I can't say this enough. You need to understand the introduction. Anyhow, before the end of this video, certainly we will take a practice question, and you will see how we'll take a practice question, or even more than one practice question, just so you see how this approach works precisely and could work for you if you put it into diligent practice. So in the first place, we have reading the blob, and of course getting details on the blob. You want to focus a lot more on the description of the blob and the title. Sometimes you may need more of the title than the description. Other times the title, the description can give you full-on idea of what the text is all about overall. You want to also understand the introduction. I can't say this enough. You need to understand introductory sentences, right, as they hold the key to the other portions of the text. Also, you need, number 3, the third step, you need to look out for transitional words. Look out for transitional words or signs that could point to a new piece of information coming through, or just continuity on what you have previously seen. And you want to also be able to make a prediction. Yes, number 4, you want to be able to make a prediction and then finally evaluate your options, which takes us to the next section of this lesson today, which is looking at the types of wrong answers that you have to eliminate, and just precisely how the correct answer should look like. So without wasting so much time, let's apply these 5 steps to an actual question. I'm going to be sharing my screen so that you see the questions I am working with at the moment. So here we go. We have a main idea question showing right on your screen right now. Remember, the first step was to look at the blob, right? So this question as it stands does not have a blob. So we'll just move right into the next step, which is to, of course, get the introductory sentence, right? So the introductory sentence we have here says, in 1984, physicist Eugene Wiener posited the existence of a crystal consisting entirely of electrons in a honeycomb-like structure. Now, see, there seem to be a lot of scientific jargons there. You just have to focus on what is going on here. What is the idea? Somebody simply figured out a crystal that has honeycomb-like structure. So Wiener figured out this crystal. That is the introduction. That is a big idea. A big idea already that could either drift or not. So let's see whether it does drift. This person figured, see, an important name, figured out the existence of crystal. Oh, he posited more or less. Okay, so he claims there is a crystal like that. Then we have a full stop, which indicates to me, so I'm looking at transitional signs and words now, which takes us to the next step, right? There's a full stop here, which indicates that there is continuity. This idea of this person figuring out crystal, Wiener figuring out crystal, is still continuing. So we have the so-called Wiener crystal. So you see, repetition of an important detail. I am marking that. Remained a conjecture. So a conjecture, you want to know what that means. Just somebody's projection that is not founded fact yet. However, until recently, there's a however points to a new information point coming through. However, we have seen here that his stance happens to be a conjecture until these people, Feng Wang, I like, you would have found that I like to just skip through names or just fill in with vague words. These people, blah blah blah, because I find that names, especially when the name is not an essential detail, right? But maybe it's not an essential detail, I like to skip through it so it doesn't waste so much reading time. So Feng Wang and colleagues announced in 2021 that they had captured an image of one crystal, certainly. So you see, there is no drift yet. Wiener posited the existence of a crystal, and there is some sort of confirmation to that. The researchers trapped electrons between two semiconductors. This is a process going on, so they are trying to justify that point. So far, we don't see any other drift yet. Yes. So, by inserting an ultra-thin sheet of graphene above the crystal, the researchers obtained an impression. We know we're down to the last sentence, a very important part. Often you will find that the last sentence more or less rephrases this information, especially when there is no contrary information in the middle, right? So let's see how that works here. By inserting an ultra-thin sheet of graphene above the crystal, the researchers obtained, an impression, the first visual confirmation of the Wiener crystal. So obviously, the Wiener crystal has been confirmed. So the main point of this passage is more or less the introductory sentence plus the concluding sentence. So you see, that came pretty easy. So if I'm going to make a prediction, now my prediction should sound like this. Wiener posited the existence of a crystal, and that his position was confirmed eventually. Something as simple as that. So you see, how did I do this? I understood the first sentence, and that guided me through the rest of the passage. I didn't see any important contrast. There is this word here, however, which is meant to just contradict the fact that what he figured out, what he claimed was a conjecture, right? And in a way, the passage just came back to that main claim, which is the confirmation of the crystal as found by Wiener. So you see, we've read the text and we have a prediction. Now down to dealing with the options. So here we have the options, right? Before we delve right into the options, it's important for us to take a look at the different kinds of wrong options we could possibly have on the main idea question. Now, you could have in the precise order as you're seeing it on my screen right now, you could have some answer choices that are off context. What does it mean for an answer choice to be off context? The context of this passage here is obviously somebody, whiner, crystal. You can just pick keywords. The keywords here are whiner and a crystal, right? So if you find that an option does not mention any of these words, it is said to be off context. It's said to be discussing something entirely different. So you can call that off context or off scope. We also have some answer that can be contradicting. In other words, expect an answer to say something like researchers are still unable to confirm the whiner crystal. So you see, it contradicts, it does the direct opposite of what we see in the text. So the text says that this thing has been confirmed, that answer says it has not been confirmed, right? So that is another kind of wrong answer to look out for. We also have a wrong answer that is considered too broad. It has gone beyond the specific scope. Every passage has a scope. The scope of this passage is a research done by Weiner, and that research is centered around the finding of a crystal. Now, anything that talks about research in general without specifically talking about that honeycomb-like crystal is said to be too broad. Then we also have the too specific answer. Now, the too specific answer is an answer, a wrong answer that you would often find on main idea questions. How do I mean? This is just an answer that is playing on your inability to deal with the question with respect to its question type. Remember, I don't think I've said this enough, that you have to understand the question type so that you know just how best to approach the passage. Now, when you don't know that you're dealing with a main idea, which is a question that requires you to capture the overall point of the passage, you could choose a too specific answer that only highlights one sentence in the middle or at the bottom of the passage. That sentence that is just too specific, right? You can't find it anywhere else apart from that particular portion that it appeared in. You can't find it rephrased anywhere else. So we call such answer too specific. You have to eliminate them too. Then finally, there is the trickiest kind of wrong answer you should always expect: the half true, the half wrong. These are the ones you probably eliminate at once because they don't stand out to you as wrong. I tell you, when you probably didn't understand the text fully when you read the first time, right? They don't stand out to you as wrong because they say some things that are right, but then they could just introduce one word or one phrase that disqualifies them. That one word or that one phrase that you cannot see described in detail in the passage, right? Now, down to what qualifies as a correct answer. A correct answer is simply an answer that rephrases your prediction. Remember, we are going with my approach this time, and my approach centers around reading the text well the first time and having a sense of what the answer should look like. Yes. So when you don't see and when the answer does not rephrase your prediction, is already wrong. Another thing to look out for in a good answer is that you can find every word justified in the passage, not in too specific. Okay, so now we're down to the options. The first option gives us researchers have obtained the most definitive evidence to date of the existence of the whiner crystal. So my prediction, trying to remember my prediction now, my prediction was that whiner posited the existence of the crystal, and then it was confirmed. And then this seemed to say just that researchers have obtained, which captures a lot of the information we have at the bottom, except of the whiner crystal. There is whiner. So there's no word that we can eliminate from here with respect to my prediction and with respect to what we have on the text, right? So there is nothing. They have obtained the most definitive, the first visual. So you see, I can justify every single word. That is the best way to even get your right answer. Every single word can be justified, number one. Number two, it must align with your prediction. So this seems to align with my prediction, number one. Number two, I can see every word. We just have obtained the most definitive, the first visual confirmation. So you see, then we also have researchers, of course, who were told about Firm 1 and colleagues, and the researchers tracked, so we can see that word as well. And Weiner crystal, obviously Weiner posited the existence of a crystal. So yes, option A makes a lot of sense. We just hold on to that. Remember, don't be too quick to eliminate all the other answers once you find that the first answer aligns with your prediction, right? So you want to be sure that others do not work, or there isn't one that could even be considered better than the option you're going with, the first option. The second option gives, the researchers have identified an innovative new method for working with unusual crystals. So I had to be very tonal in pronouncing those very wrong details. First of all, innovative new method. So the kind of answer we call of context, right? Unusual crystal. So you see, it's also very general, because okay, it's easy to assume that because Weiner put the example of a crystal before that has to be confirmed to be true, then it is okay to say it's an unusual crystal. But then see, unusual crystalline structures is quite generic. Please know that a wrong answer can have more than one characteristic of a wrong answer, right? So this one is too broad. Off context, innovative new approach, we don't see that. Then option C gives us graphene is the most important component required to capture an image of a Weiner crystal. Yes, we have graphene mentioned somewhere. The kind of answer we call too specific rather. So graphene was mentioned in one very tiny portion when they were describing the process of the research. That was where they mentioned that word graphene, right? And yes, it wasn't even said when it was mentioned at all. It wasn't even said that it's the most important, which makes it a contradicting information. See, so this is too specific plus too contradicting. Option D, it is difficult to acquire. So I wonder about this kind of answers that are contradicting, totally contradicting. It didn't seem difficult to acquire that Weiner crystal. I mean, they did the research and they confirmed it. So this sounds like it wasn't even confirmed because it was probably very difficult. So it is contradicting and also off scope. And it was said that because of the crystal's honeycomb-like, so it was difficult to confirm because the crystal had a honeycomb-like structure. The honeycomb-like structure of the crystal is not even an important detail. The crystal was merely described as having a honeycomb-like structure, right? But that information is not an information we consider part of the main idea because we don't have it mentioned anywhere else. So you see, that was pretty easy. So you want to walk through your options, bearing in mind all the characteristics of wrong answers like I just told you, and remember your right answer must match your prediction and you can justify every single word or phrase using it in the text. So hope this is helpful. You want to practice with as many main idea questions as you can get your hands on and just see how this approach works for you, right? Feel free to leave your comments in the comment section. If there are questions you want me to take a second look at for you, feel free to do that as well. And please, you may need to subscribe to this page to get subsequent notification, to get a notification of subsequent videos like this. If you watch this to the very end, it means you certainly need this channel, right? So you want to leave a like and subscribe to the channel so you'll be the first to know when I drop a new video. See you in the next video. Thank you for your time.